should I take the name off or leave that on?
I think we're good.
Okay.
So you're announcing an exploratory committee into a run for governor.
Yes.
And could you tell me first why you want to be governor?
You know, it's I get a little frustrated with how I see things happening in the state, and I think it needs a fix. I've got experience, and look, I'm a CPA. I've dealt with clients for 25 years, and the small businesses, that's the first one, is hurting. And I've done hundreds of tax returns and consultations for them, and thousands for individuals. And it's jobs, 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 jobs is a theme for me. And in addition, I get tired of sometimes seeing the hypocrisy coming out of elected people. I think it should be just very straight. My experience is good, strong fiscal management and leadership and getting things done. I just really want to see us put on the right track, we New Jerseyans.
So you've announced the formation of an exploratory committee, but not a Sherman-esque affirmation of your intention to pursue the Republican nomination. So it seems rather late in the game. No, are you in fact doubtful of entering the contest? What's holding you back from actually saying that you're running?
I just wanted to speak to a few people, colleagues, see what's happening, and then go look into all of and it's very grassroots. I've always been very grassroots. So then I've got to look at everything from filing the right forms and opening the right accounts, and getting a feel from a bunch of people on what it may take. As long as it is viable also, is what I want to say, which it should be. Pardon me. It's again very grassroots, so it's kind of bubbling up. I'm going to make a decision very shortly.
So you ran in 2009.
Yes.
And what did you learn from that experience, and how would you see this effort as significantly different from that one?
I learned from people around the state. I actually have to say Chris Christie was a gentleman when I ran that year. He was very cordial, very nice. He obviously got the nomination and became governor. And I learned a little bit about getting around, putting an infrastructure together, and more of what the issues were. In subsequent years, I was on some state committees. He appointed me to the Red Tape Review Committee, which I learned things that are going on around the state, which expanded me from my town, my district, my county. So I think I got a better handle on issues and people all around the state, and a bit what it takes.
Mr. Levine, you mentioned the sitting governor's spotty record. That was the adjective you used to describe his response to the pandemic. Could you tell me what exactly you've objected to in terms of some of his executive decision making and what you would do differently in this pandemic?
Okay. Well, one thing in general, because I like how the Constitution was set up. We've got 3 branches. It seems the executive is making all the dictates. We have a governor, not a king. And I would have rather seen conjunction with the legislature on these executive orders that are coming through. In addition, a lot of it was just, okay, you can't have gatherings, you can't have restaurants open, you have to close stores, without saying, and here's what I'm going to do for these small businesses. Again, by profession a CPA. I've got small business clients. I've got restaurants. I've got hairdressers. I've got retailers. And they've got hurt. And there wasn't any solution saying, okay, you close your doors. The federal government will give you a couple $100, and we're not. And that's all there is. It felt like it left people hanging. The other things are it kind of showed how New Jersey is very bad at planning. In good times, you should be building up accounts and surpluses like the unemployment fund. but that was always hand to mouth. Now, when an emergency happens, it's even worse. And all the ancillary things that are part of the pandemic, such as domestic violence has gone up, unfortunately. And are there extra services? Mental health services are needed more than ever. Are there allocations for that? Okay, state, again, because we never saved for a rainy day. I mean, it's such a credit card mentality the state runs on. Borrowed $9 billion, which I believe the judge said you must use this pandemic relief. And then it goes to building golf courses for wealthy cronies of people in Trenton. So I think, again, the ancillary things that come with the pandemic and putting your mind into especially those small businesses. So that's what I'd like to see. And what's the resolution? Not just close your restaurant, close your hairdresser, don't let people in your doors, hassle people for opening up. I can see you want to protect society, but okay, you got to make plans. You got to have leadership on these other things too.
Would you take specific executive action in another direction on day one? And if so, what would it be?
Yeah, I would absolutely get my fingers into seeing what these small businesses needed. Now, in another year from now, when the governor is seated, hopefully the pandemic is behind us, but the hurt and the problems are going to be lingering for a long time. It's going to be years for us to recover. And that just goes from my observation. I'm a student of economics. When there's been recessions, kids coming out of, I say kids, young adults graduating from college during a recession statistically take a long time to catch up. That's just how the economy and society works. People who like have a life savings in a restaurant, I'm using that as an example, or a small business and can't work and may have to shut their doors. That's going to be a long time for them to recover. If they close their doors, they're still going to owe their back rent, their electric, their everything else, and got to put together a plan for them. And also the workers, yeah, they got a little bit extra, which is nice in their unemployment, but unfortunately, the food banks have more demand than ever before. Food insecurity, it's very sad to think someone's worked all of his or her life and they want to just provide for their families. It's good we've got the support, but now they've got to go somewhere and ask. And people want something to help them. They don't want a handout. They want a hand, as all of us got over time. Like I got scholarships and grants going to Rutgers, and that was great. And that helped me. I paid them off, and we should help the next person along the line too.
Mayor, just to ask you on the specific policy points of this governor's approach to the budget, let's just take three decisions that he made. One, the millionaire's tax, which raises a certain amount of revenue. Also, marijuana legalization and the Horizon restructuring plan that the legislature rushed through at the end of last year. Each one of these decisions nets a certain amount toward the budget, and they seem to be major policy decisions. Do you agree or disagree with those three decisions made with specific concern to the budget?
Basically disagree, and I'll hit them one at a time. Let's say the millionaire's tax. And again, I keep coming back, putting on my CPA hat. I've worked with individual clients for 25 more years, 30 years. New Jersey isn't an island. If the federal government makes tax policy, everyone's got to go along. If New Jersey puts in a millionaire's tax, which is going to, like, we already top out before that at almost 9% for the highest earners. New Jersey isn't an island. You can easily go to Pennsylvania, where it's like about 3%, or Delaware, or other places where the taxes are lower. And people have done that. If you're in the middle of Alaska or Montana, people might have harder time going somewhere. That's just the reality. People leave. And look, I'm not going to shed a tear if someone worth $50 million, or your actors who earn seven-figure incomes who are here have to pay. But this is the reality is they may not. They may choose to go away somewhere else. And it's fun. I'm going to flip on the other side. The federal government took away the Affordable Care Act is in place, but the penalty for not having insurance was taken away at the federal level. And New Jersey put that on, which, again, I see people. So if you're hurting, you don't have a job, you can't afford medical insurance, and now the people at the bottom have to pay extra tax. So it's not like people at the top, it's the people at the bottom also. The Horizon Plan, you're right, it was rushed through, and I don't understand rushing things through. You have time to look at it, you have time to think, you have time to discuss. And even if that discussion is several days, several weeks, getting all the input, then people have an informed decision. That's how it always should be. I just can't understand people like dictating because it's my idea, and that's what it really felt like. And I'm sorry, what was the third point there, Max?
Legalization.
What?
Sorry, marijuana legalization.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, that's the law of the land now. So that's fine. It's implementing it properly. What I'm doubting is going to happen is the panacea of revenue that's going to flow. New Jersey has a history of projecting big and delivering small. And going back before your time and mine, maybe, there was, if you look at the history, there's going to be tolls on the Turnpike and Parkway just till we pay it off. And then it's going to go away. And we're going to introduce a sales tax. And that's going to reduce real estate tax and others. And we're going to introduce gambling, which is fine, but that was going to solve all education issues. But property taxes for education keep going up as much. And then in the 70s, they introduced an income tax, and that's going to solve everything. And we're going to raise tax on cigarettes and alcohol, the sin taxes, they call them, and that's going to be it. But all that happens in the state, and a millionaire's tax, and that's going to save us. And as a state, we're still broke, I think, because it's, frankly, fiscal mismanagement. And there's probably good ways to.
But then what is, in fact, your major surgical operation as an executive to get the state back on a sound fiscal course?
What I'm sorry, I faded a little. What would I do to get us on?
Right.
Part of the in the general way, it's planning. I'll give you a little piece of history of mine. Okay, mayor in a town of 65, nearly 70,000 people now. Very diverse, which is good, more diverse than the state as a whole, which goes well. And much more Democratic than Republican. And when I ran, I got solid Republican support and the Democratic support, for the most part, to get me over the top. So our budgets are balanced by law. The municipalities and counties have to be balanced. But when we balanced it, there was never, and I was always very strong in this, there's no gimmickry. It was very straight, cash flow in, cash flow out. When we got, sometimes you get extra money as a municipality. You settled a lawsuit or something happened and money would come in. And it seems most municipalities, they just put that in the general fund. And then the next year they're in trouble because they plugged it with, some kind of gap money. And I always made sure that didn't happen. When we got those extras, those surpluses, those went to a special project we may need, like building the animal shelter or putting a park in place for the residents. So it was always good planning. And as I said to you in my release, when I left office as mayor, I think we had one of the highest surpluses in the state for a municipality. And we were one of my tenure, based on construction permits, we're, I think, in the top 1% of the state in growth, but it was planned. I never had the rateable chase. It was always nice and planned. So putting that hat on as governor, I want to find out why we have the highest per mile, just about, paving and road construction in the state, and why we're behind, and why our taxes are at this level, and our services are lower, and our budgets even worse than that. And some things is giving small businesses incentives also. I mean, we treat them like the poor child who we're trying to get rid of. They're the lifeblood. They provide most of the jobs. They collect, frankly, quite a bit of the taxes for the state, the payroll taxes and the sales tax. And all we can do is give them a penalty if they're 1 minute late in filing or reporting.
Pardon me, but Mayor,
Yes.
I would like to get to two other questions if we could.
Sure, pardon me.
No, not at all. And the first is there are several other people already in the Republican race for governor. And do you see yourself differing significantly on any issues from the two of them? Let's take Doug Steinhardt and the former state party chairman and former Assemblyman Jack Chiatarelli. You've seen them and heard them now. Do they differ significantly from yourself on any one or two issues?
And also the other was Hirsch Singh, who went in there, and I'll just say, I respect all of them. And frankly, I personally like all of them also. So I wouldn't be running to be against them. I just want to put out my ideas and let people decide. And again, hopefully, if I do go in formally, it's a cordial and intellectual exchange of ideas, and whomever is the standard bearer, hopefully we'll get ideas from all of us and work it through. So again, I wish all of them well too. And to answer your question, I haven't studied and picked apart what they're doing. I think they have good ideals, good ideas. And again, I respect them.
So let me ask you this. You ran last year for re-election to the Freeholder Board in Somerset County and lost. You were running on a ticket with Donald Trump at the top. What are your sort of post-game assessments of his presidency and his messaging for your party, the Republican Party?
Okay, so the demographics in the county have shifted, and Donald Trump, and I don't know the figures in front of me, he lost Somerset County by something like 25,000 votes. I think my running mates and I did about 10,000 votes, maybe 15,000 votes better than he did. That's because they knew who we were. So obviously he didn't resonate with some, but he did resonate with others. And I think that people, again, when it's a party switch and it's now much more Democratic than Republican in the county, that's going to have its toll a bit too. So again, I think some people obviously like his policies. Before the pandemic, they liked that their 401k was doing pretty good, but others didn't like some of the delivery methods, such as the tweeting and such as that. So I hope.
Do you think it was but what about yourself? Do you think you primarily objected to his Twitter dexterity or some of the ravages of his soul? How would you assess him as a leader?
Okay, not gonna. As far as soul, I won't do an evaluation.
I don't mean to be too heavy-handed here, Mayor, but
no, that's good.
You know what I mean.
I won't evaluate someone's personality. Some of the policies, like I said, there was tax cut. People weren't penalized for not having health insurance, though the affordable care infrastructure is in place, and I'm sure we can do better. I'm going back to my knowledge with small businesses. I work with them, and their insurance costs have gone up a lot over the last few years. That's tough. Like a family person spending $20,000 to $30,000 a year out of their business to provide health insurance for their family is a little bit unconscionable. I mean, some of the things that people, going back to the president, thought were outrageous, like, moving and this is beyond New Jersey, but just on a global level, we're going to move the embassy in Israel to Jerusalem, and that's going to cause havoc and problems. And it didn't. Actually, more of Israel's neighbors are starting peace process with them than ever before. The Twitter attacks comments were They're not quite my style, but then again, the current governor calling people knuckleheads is kind of in a similar vein, and that's not quite my style too. Hopefully this doesn't get heavy-handed and you'll see me changing later on. Hopefully I'm still staying the person that I am. So, I mean, it's good. You have to be tough if you're going to be the leader, but, you know, with a heart, with a little empathy, but sometimes you make your decision and move on. So I hope I answered that.
You did. And my friend,
Thanks.
I certainly appreciate the time today. And I would wish you all the very best as you reach a decision on 2021. And I look forward to continued discussions as always.
Same here. And I'll just throw the opposite at you. Pleasure is all mine, Max. Thanks a lot.
It's always a pleasure. And I hope you have a wonderful day and Happy New Year.
Yeah. Happy New Year. Hope it's a good one for you.
Thank you, sir.
And
You
your family.
too. Good to
All
see
right.
you. Take care. All the best. Bye now.
Take care. Thanks. Okay, bye.